We have continuing coverage tonight on yesterday's shooting in Brewerton. For the first time since it happened, the Onondaga County Sheriff himself is talking about the incident. Good evening, I'm Matt Mulcahy.
And I'm Megan Coleman. 2 people are dead after the shooting at the home of the Onondaga County Sheriff's civil deputy.
Today, our cameras captured more than 20 investigators arriving back on the scene at the home, Civil Deputy Isaac Eames' house. A very active investigation. Prosecutors and investigators seemingly searching everywhere for evidence, taking great care with the scene. The sheriff tonight telling us that deputy may be responsible for what unfolded around 7:30 Monday morning.
The deputy, Isaac Eames, and his 21-year-old son, Troy, are both dead. His wife, 46-year-old Karen Eames, is still in the hospital. The hospital is now upgrading her from critical to serious condition, so she is improving. A sign of positive recovery there. Karen Eames is a well-known secretary at Liverpool High School. Tonight, 33 hours after that 911 call yesterday, we are hearing from Onondaga County Sheriff Eugene Conway for the first time. Amanda Hull is live outside the sheriff's office tonight. Amanda?
Matt and Megan, we know this is a difficult investigation, not only because the sheriff's office is dealing with the death of one of their own deputies, his son, and a seriously wounded wife. Tonight, the Onondaga County Sheriff, Eugene Conway, speaking for the first time on the investigation. Conway said the deputy's wife was the one who called 911 Monday morning while wounded. He says when nobody could come to the door of the home on Riverview Road, 2 deputies forced their way inside to discover the scene. The sheriff said today the department was making arrangements to try to speak with Karen Eames, who was upgraded to serious condition. But questions still remain about what happened in that house before police arrived. The sheriff saying tonight the investigation is looking closely at Deputy Isaac Eames and what was going on in his life.
We will be looking certainly at his work history. We'll be looking at his personal history. We'll be looking at any aspect that may help us try to determine what was in his mind at the time, obviously, that he decided to act in the way that he did. If somebody certainly has some kind of information, we would love to hear that. We would love to know about that. But again, this is something that is probably the worst tragedy that can happen within a family, certainly. And so together still, with the shock that everybody is experiencing here, we will continue to look at every possible aspect to determine, hopefully, what's responsible. But it's much too early in this investigation for speculation or some kind of assumptions.
And to be clear, we asked the sheriff to clarify that statement as it suggests that Deputy Isaac Eames was the person who shots fired inside that home. The sheriff said very clearly there's nothing to suggest he wasn't the gunman, but as you heard him say, this is a very active and ongoing investigation, and every possibility is being looked at closely. The Hall.
Well, very helpful to hear from the sheriff for the first time tonight, Amanda. Thank you. Now, as we learn more from authorities about the investigation, we're also learning about the victims in the incident. Troy Eames worked at the Wegmans on Route 31 and was a beloved worker there, according to those who knew him. The son of one coworker telling us he was the nicest young man who went out of his way for everyone, but my mom specifically. He would carry her bags after her shift and offer to drive her home last Friday after that snowstorm. Karen Eames is a secretary at Liverpool High School who is deeply connected with the students there. A 2017 graduate told us, "She made me feel safe. I don't look at Karen as a friend, but more as a mother figure."
In a letter sent to Liverpool Central School District families, Superintendent Mark Potter said this, in part, quote, "Our hearts go out to the family. Counselors will be on hand throughout the week for anyone who may need support in dealing with this tragic event. We ask that you keep the family in your thoughts and prayers."
Well, thank you, Josh. Tonight, a Syracuse police officer says he was just doing his job after helping a suicidal woman in distress. But his help proved to be something most officers really couldn't offer and highlighted a need for diversity on the force. Officers responded to the woman's home January 31st, discovering she didn't speak English. Investigative reporter Mary Keeler is live in the studio tonight. And Mary, this officer had a talent for a language that we don't hear here all that often.
That's right, Matt, and it's a story that could have had a much different ending, but newly graduated police officer Sayam Omari was there to help. Syracuse police are calling this a success story and reinforcing their efforts for a more diverse department. Syracuse police officer Sayam Omari graduated from the academy in December. He moved to Syracuse in 2009 from Afghanistan.
That was always my goal. to become a police officer and help the community that I live.
Omari speaks Dari, one of 2 national languages in his home country, a skill that's already proved to be vital on the force. Just after 5 o'clock on January 31st, Syracuse police responded to a home on Pattison Street, a 20-year-old woman inside with a knife. Officers couldn't communicate with her but found out she's from Afghanistan, like Officer Omari.
I was able to build rapport with her and talk with her, relate to her, because we're both from Afghanistan.
For nearly 2 hours, he worked to de-escalate the situation, talking with the woman and listening to her frustrations about her family being stuck in Afghanistan. Eventually, he got her to put the knife down.
I could see in her eyes, I could see in her body language that she kind of eased up and she kind of started listening to me more. And since we came, like I say, like we came from the same background, she listened to me more and she started trusting me.
Syracuse police say this outcome may not have been possible without Officer Omari, who was able to connect with the woman. They posted on Facebook saying, quote, "A diverse police department is an effective police department." But that's an uphill battle. Our previous reporting shows minorities account for less than half of the agency, and only 6 people of color are in leadership positions.
Do you think SPD does a good job recruiting diverse candidates to become officers?
As I mentioned before, in 8 months of time in this department, I see a very diverse officers in here with different culture, different background, different language, different skill sets.
And diversity among the ranks of the Syracuse Police Department is an ongoing goal for them, and it's stories like these that really show how much that extra cultural understanding and the ability to connect to people in a different language means. Another class of officers will graduate at the end of the month, and SPD says they hope that will add more police with diverse backgrounds to match the community they serve.
Welcome back to NBC3 News at 11. An Olympian with ties to upstate New York will welcome his first child while competing in the Winter Games half a world away. Leif Nordgren is in Beijing right now competing with the biathlon team, Team USA. But look at this. The team shared this photo of his new baby girl, Astrid, born Sunday night back in Vermont. So just a couple days old. That's where his wife, Caitlin, serves as a meteorologist at our NBC affiliate. NBC News spoke with her in the days leading up to her delivery.
I, of course, want him to be there for the delivery, and it's a process that takes a team, but I have to think of him too. You know, he's missing it as well. So we're both sacrificing a lot for this, for not only for the baby, but for the Olympics as well.
No matter what happens at the Olympics, the new parents will be bringing home the most important title yet, baby number 1. We caught up with Nordgren in Beijing while he waited for news of the baby. Megan Coleman has more on that.
For Leif Nordgren, it's the moment he's been preparing for years. The 32-year-old will be on the world stage in Beijing as he represents Team USA.
It is always special. It's always something really humbling to wear the stars and stripes.
The Colorado native has spent years getting ready for his 3rd Olympic Games, competing in the biathlon, which look and feel much different due to the pandemic.
So far, obviously, COVID has played a major kind of difference in this Olympic Games compared to the other ones I've been to.
During a typical Olympics, he enjoys meeting other athletes from around the world. That won't happen this time.
That's been something that's I doubt is going to happen very much at this Olympics. You know, everything is, everyone is, basically locked in their own bubbles.
Over the last 2 years, he's still been able to train, but COVID prevented him from traveling and meant coaching staff from overseas were unable to work with him in person. Much of that training happened here in upstate New York, in the village of Lake Placid, which hosted the 1932 and 1980 Winter Games.
I do really enjoy training in Lake Placid, and I'm really grateful that our team training base is there.
Nordgren lived in Lake Placid from 2010 to 2017, where he prepared for the Olympics at the Olympic Training Center, which recently underwent a massive makeover.
I do really enjoy that, Lake Placid is kind of just right smack dab in the middle of the mountains, and it's so easy and accessible to just, go out and go for a hike or go swimming or canoeing or something like that. So it's yeah, it is really kind of an outdoor person's paradise.
When he wasn't training for the Olympics, Nordgren was preparing to become a dad. He says that has put life into perspective.
You know, it's kind of gotten me to see that there's, more to life outside of sport. And I'm actually pretty excited to get these games over with and get back home for the first time in a couple months.
While he's been away at training, Nordgren has spent a lot of time doing video chats with his wife as she prepares to give birth to their baby back in Vermont while cheering on her husband half a world away.
It's basically staying by the phone whenever she needs to call or needs to, chat, and basically being ready for the call in the next couple of days whenever the baby decides to make its appearance.
Nordgren's wife says baby Astrid is more perfect than she and her husband could have ever dreamed of, thanking everyone for their support. We wish the new parents all the best.